Jeff Hardy won't be competing on this week's edition of Dynamite as he's out again with an injury. Sadly, that's just the latest problem for Jeff, whose performance at 2022's Double or Nothing had many fans concerned about his condition and whether he belongs in the ring anymore. Join us now as Wrestlelamia looks at why Jeff Hardy needs to retire from wrestling. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. Also check out Wrestlelamia.co.uk and our non-wrestling channel, Incredible. First, let's look at Jeff Hardy's situation. A 44-year-old Jeff Hardy is a daredevil wrestler who sacrificed his body to entertain fans from around the world. Few would deny that Jeff's high-flying performances are what helped him become a star, both as a tag team maestro alongside his brother Matt, but also as a singles champion. Jeff's problem is that he's refused to modify his style like other high flyers, accepting the irresistible progress of time. For example, Rey Mysterio is one of the best high flyers in wrestling, still performs high spots, but he scaled them back and modified his style to reduce the wear and tear on his body while extending his career. Even so, Rey has suffered a number of injuries. Jeff Hardy refuses to slow down or change his style at all, instead pushing the envelope even more. Hardy seems obsessed with taking a sick bump every time he appears on television, whether it's to save someone from a run-in or just during a match. Now firstly, he needs to protect himself. Jeff Hardy already seems to be in bad shape, and it's easy to see with the way he moves in the ring, with some observers speculating he's in constant pain. That's bad enough, but with pain and limited mobility comes an increased chance of something going wrong in the ring. It's common knowledge that wrestlers perform through injuries, and Jeff is likely no exception. However, what's the extent of Jeff's injuries, and when will a nagging injury cause himself to slip and hurt himself seriously or lead to his demise? This is no hype, as no one knows the true extent of Jeff's physical condition. Fans of the Japanese legend Mitsuhara Misawa are all too familiar with Misawa's story, that of a beat-up wrestler who'd been wrestling hurt for some time. Wrestling lore has it that his 2009 death in the ring occurred because he was wrestling with an injured neck and shoulder. This led to his death after he landed wrong after being suplexed. This is not just to protect himself, it's also to protect other wrestlers. And Jeff may not be concerned about his own safety, but he has an obligation to other wrestlers to keep them safe. Wrestling's Charismatic Engima isn't a human wrecking machine like Nia Jax, but fans have seen more than one instance where Jeff nearly clobbered someone due to a blown spot. If Jeff can't protect himself, how can he be expected to protect his fellow wrestlers? Does Jeff want to deal with the consequences of an accident that could have been prevented had he stepped away from the ring? This needs to be a lesson for other wrestlers. Wrestlers learn from their peers, both from their accomplishments and their failures. Many a successful wrestlers talked about how a veteran helped them, passing their wisdom down to them and guiding their career. This can be things like managing finances, dealing with the often tricky politics of the locker room, training methods, or knowing how to pace yourself so you have a long career that doesn't land you in a wheelchair. Jeff's situation is grim because so many wrestlers have been inspired by his career. This itself isn't a bad thing, but as anyone who's gone to indie shows know, far too many young wrestlers or would-be wrestlers think diving off a 30-foot ladder through a flaming table is a quick ticket to the top. Jeff isn't the only wrestler who's inspired wrestlers with his crash test dummy approach to performing, but he could set a good example by telling others to slow down and to work on other aspects of wrestling to get over. At this point in his career, Jeff should not only announce his retirement, but explain to younger wrestlers that he's already suffering from his wild style and that other wrestlers need to modify their own style. Sadly, Jeff's warnings is likely to go unheeded, as wrestlers will think they're different or that they simply don't care about the damage they're inflicting on their bodies. One thing's for sure, Jeff has set the bar too high. Simply put, Jeff is setting the bar too high for other wrestlers. An example of this is Darby Allin, whose recent matches with Jeff Hardy was a clear competition between the two as to who could perform the sickest bump. The 29-year-old Allin couldn't just match Hardy's antics, although he did try his damnness, and while it was likely the thrill of a lifetime to work with Jeff, neither man needed to take the bumps they did on a television match. Wrestling is like any other form of entertainment in that you have to establish pacing, which includes saving high spots and sick bumps for certain occasions. No one expects to see Jeff Hardy, Darby Allin or Sammy Guevara on the mat the entire match, but at the same time, they shouldn't perform one dangerous spot after another. Not only does it diminish its impact on entertaining the crowd, but it sets the bar higher than next week as a wrestler wonders what crazy stunt they can pull off to get over. Now, Matt and Jeff's AEW reunion was a pleasant surprise for fans and also for Matt, who likely was uncertain if Jeff would be unable to join him after Brother Nero signed a contract extension with the WWE. Thanks to an overreaction from WWE, Jeff was released and is now in AEW. However, what if something bad was to happen to Jeff? Matt Hardy would not be only devastated, but might blame himself for Jeff's decision to continue wrestling when he should have retired. Matt shouldn't have to deal with this, but the potential is there and is growing every time Jeff wrestles. Now, this isn't just for Matt Hardy, it's for his sobriety. There are several health reasons why Jeff should step away, both for himself and others, but the biggest health concern is Jeff's sobriety. Some fans are already concerned that Jeff may be abusing substances to deal with the tremendous pain he is in, and inflicting more damage on himself on a regular basis is only going to make it easier for him to fall back into the trap of substance abuse. It also makes AEW look bad. While AEW gets a pass for signing Jeff despite initial concerns by some fans Hardy was using drugs when he walked out of the WWE match before it was over, the drug test vindicated Hardy, there's an argument that AEW should not have Jeff competing when he's obviously so beat up and in pain. Does AEW care about its wrestlers' well-being? AEW has been criticized of questionable calls continuing matches that should have been stopped due to what looks like concerns such as a possible concussion. Does the promotion need a serious injury to damage its reputation? And you can be certain that one or more competitors will try to use such an injury or fatality to discourage advertisers or even networks from working with AEW. Throw in the possibility of Jeff using alcohol and or drugs during a match to ease his pain, and you have a lawsuit that's just waiting to happen. But not only that, it's for the industry's sake. AEW wouldn't be the only wrestling organization to suffer. It's possible that the entire industry could suffer because of bad press from an obviously hurt wrestler performing when he should have been convalescing or enjoying retirement. Will the bad press go away? Well, more than likely, as wrestling seems to get a pass when it comes to scandal, whether it's the rampant abuse of performance-enhancing drugs, sketchy employment practices such as labeling employees as independent contractors, the Chris Benoit tragedy, or a wrestler dying in the ring. Nonetheless, what if such a situation proves to be the last straw for a politician looking to make a name for themselves? While it could help the industry by implementing much-needed changes, it could also lead to overreactive legislation that hurts the industry without helping its wrestlers. So, it is time for retirement. As much as our fans love Jeff Hardy, and he's one of my favourite wrestlers, and watching him reunite with Matt was the best thing ever, it's time for Jeff to retire. Anyone who watches Jeff wrestle has to question how Tony Khan lets him go out and perform when he's clearly a member of the Walking Wounded. Jeff is a danger to himself in his current physical condition and possibly a danger to other wrestlers. He's setting a bad example for younger wrestlers, putting AEW's reputation at risk and jeopardizing the wrestling industry's already shaky image. It's unlikely Jeff will take the time he needs to heal and return with a modified style, so at this point, it's just best to hang up the boots. But what do you guys think? Should Jeff Hardy retire? Let us know in the comments down below. I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.